Welcome back to the channel. Subscribe the channel if you are new. September 11, 2001. A date seared into history. A morning that began like any other, but within hours became one of the darkest days America had ever known. Nearly 3,000 innocent lives lost. Skyscrapers crumbled. The Pentagon struck. A plane brought down in a quiet Pennsylvania field. And a nation forever changed. This is the story of the September 11th attacks, how they were planned, how they unfolded, and how they reshaped the world. The roots of 9/11 stretch back decades. At the center was Osama bin Laden, a wealthy Saudi-turned extremist who built Al-Qaeda, a global terror network united by radical ideology. Their mission? To drive the United States out of the Middle East and to strike at symbols of American power. This was not their first attempt. In 1993, a truck bomb exploded beneath the World Trade Center, killing 6 and injuring over 1,000. The towers stood, but it was a warning. Later came attacks on U.S. embassies in East Africa, and the bombing of the USS Cole in Yemen. Each attack deadly, each attack a test, and with every strike, Al-Qaeda grew bolder. By the late 1990s, Al-Qaeda operatives had settled in Hamburg, Germany, and later entered the United States. They trained in American flight schools, learning how to control the cockpit, not how to land. 19 men were chosen, 4 teams, 4 planes, 4 targets. Their plan was simple, yet devastating: hijack passenger jets and use them as weapons. The chosen targets represented the heart of American influence: the World Trade Center, symbols of economic might; the Pentagon, symbol of military strength; and a final target, believed to be either the White House or the U.S. Capitol, the seat of democracy. It was a clear, blue sky Tuesday. Millions went to work. Thousands boarded planes. Few could have imagined the terror about to unfold. At 7:59 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 took off from Boston. On board were 5 hijackers. At 8:14, United Airlines Flight 175 departed, also from Boston. At 8:20, American Airlines Flight 77 left Washington Dulles. At 8:42, United Airlines Flight 93 departed Newark. Within minutes, those flights would become deadly weapons. At 8:46 a.m., Flight 11 struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The impact tore through the building, igniting jet fuel, sending flames and smoke into the New York sky. At first, many thought it was a tragic accident. But just 17 minutes later, when Flight 175 smashed into the South Tower, America realized it was under attack. Panic spread. News channels broadcast live images of the burning towers. In Washington, leaders scrambled. Across the nation, people stopped in disbelief, watching events they could hardly comprehend. At 9:37 a.m., Flight 77 plowed into the Pentagon, killing 125 inside the building, along with 59 passengers and crew on board. The heart of America's military power was burning. And then came Flight 93. Hijacked and heading toward Washington, its passengers learned of the other attacks. They decided to fight back. In their final, desperate act of courage, they stormed the cockpit. The plane crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania at 10:03 a.m. Everyone on board was killed, but their sacrifice saved countless lives in Washington, D.C. Back in New York, horror turned to devastation. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed in a roaring cloud of dust and debris. At 10:28, the North Tower followed. In less than 2 hours, both towers that had defined the Manhattan skyline were gone. Firefighters, police, and rescue workers rushed into danger, many never to return. Nearly 350 first responders lost their lives that day, the largest single loss of emergency personnel in American history. The aftermath was unlike anything America had faced. Smoke lingered over Manhattan for weeks. Families searched desperately for loved ones. Walls of missing person posters lined the city. The nation mourned, but grief quickly gave way to resolve. President George W. Bush declared a war on terror. Within weeks, U.S. forces launched strikes in Afghanistan, targeting Al-Qaeda and their Taliban hosts. A new era of global conflict had begun. At home, security tightened. Airports transformed overnight. The Department of Homeland Security was created. Surveillance expanded. Americans entered a new world of suspicion, vigilance, and fear. The attacks of September 11th did more than destroy buildings. They shattered America's sense of safety. They reshaped foreign policy, sparked wars that lasted decades, and left scars that remain today. Nearly 3,000 people died that morning. Office workers, firefighters, police officers, passengers on planes, mothers, fathers, children, people from more than 90 nations. Each one a story cut short. And yet, in the ashes of tragedy, stories of courage emerged. First responders who rushed toward danger. Strangers who carried each other down smoke-filled stairwells. The passengers of Flight 93, whose bravery turned despair into defiance. More than 2 decades have passed, but the images remain vivid. The falling towers, the ash-covered streets, the haunting silence over New York. September 11, 2001, was a day of unimaginable horror. But it was also a day that revealed resilience, unity, and courage. A reminder that even in the darkest moments, the human spirit endures. This is the story of 9/11, a day that changed America, and the world, forever.